Ah ha ha ha!
Hey everybody, Dave here at Bluebears Games, and this week we are doing a Blues Brews. We are doing a Budget Commander version, and the Budget Commander version we've chosen is Adeliz, the Cinder Wind. We are in Izzet colors. It is blue, red, and 1. It is a legendary human wizard creature with flying and haste. It's 2/2, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, wizards you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So you kind of see where we're going here. We're going to be doing a dual version of a deck. So it's going to be Wizard Tribal with Spellslinger. So I'll go over everything for you. One of the things I have to mention before I get going, I will be giving you guys a little bit of upgrade suggestions. However, at this very moment, Strixhaven is being spoiled, and it looks like this deck will get a huge amount of upgrade material. With Magecraft being a new ability, and copying spells and casting spells and being a spell slinger color, this is just going to improve more and more. I do not have a lot of suggestions on that end just because we're in spoiler season. We don't know what's official, what's not, and not everything has been revealed, so I don't want to give suggestions on that right away. So, if you go ahead and purchase this deck, because it is for sale, you can go ahead and take a look at a lot of the Izzet cards that are coming out of Strixhaven. I'm sure you'll be happy with that. But let's get started on the deck, and I'll show you everything that I've got in this deck. So remember, this is part of my budget brew section. It'll be up for sale. It'll be $40, just like they all are. And let me zoom out a little bit so you can see. All right, so I start with the lands. Temple of Epiphany, Izzet Guildgate, Highland Lake, Swift Water Cliffs. Those are the budgetary options that are given as far as Izzet colors for now. There are others coming out, like the new Snowland, and obviously there's going to be one in Strixhaven, but don't have them, not even out yet. Barely have any of the Kaldheim stuff because I haven't really had a chance to open them, so this is what I have as my options for that. Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, so that you can go ahead and grab the land you need. Base Camp. While it enters battlefield tap, which I don't like, it does add a mana of any color, and then it can be used to cast a cleric, a rogue, or a wizard. So it ends up being, for the most part, like a blue and a red card, or blue and a red land in this deck, just because all your creatures are going to be wizards for the most part. I think almost every one of them is. Ash Barrens, so you can cycle it away if you have too many lands in play already. Myriad Landscape for more land fetching. Desert of Fervent and Mindful, both for cycling to get rid of bad draws. And then we're going to clear the rest out with half of them islands, half of them mountains, because this deck is pretty even on the color pie. When you want to go and see exactly how many lands there are in there, if you want to see that, I always put the in the description of the video, I will put the deck list to MTG Goldfish. I have that there. It will show you specifically what each amount is. So, as far as the upgrades go for this specifically, I always go into the very expensive first, and then I'll go down in tiers from there. So we have Volcanic Island, Steam Vents, and Scalding Tarn. For me, I always mention those lands, those specific types of lands for each budget deck, because it's the Holy Trinity. So it's your dual land, your shock land, and your fetch land. So I always mention those in every budget deck I put together, because if you have the means, please do so. I don't suggest it highly because, your wallet's going to hurt, but they're there. One tier down, we're going to go with Sulphur Falls, Cascade Bluffs, and Shivan Reef. And that is your check land, your filter land, and then your pain land. Going even further down on the monetary scale, we'll go with the River Glide / Lava Glide Pathway, a Training Center, and a Fiery Islet. And those are that's your Modal Land, your Tango Land. I don't even know if it's Tango Land. It's your Commander Land, I guess. And your Modern Horizons Land. Further down the list, we're going to go Path of Ancestry, Unclaimed Territory. And this isn't very budgetary, but we're in a tribal deck on this version, so Cavern of Souls, so that you can make your wizards uncounterable. Some fetchers, other than the OG fetch Scolding Tarn. There's Grixis Panorama, Prismatic Vista, and Fabled Passage. I want to make a small commentary on Grixis Panorama. Keep in mind for Commander, while it's not, your decks are restricted by color identity of your Commander. The Panoramas, because they don't have the mana symbols, they don't fit into it. They are considered colorless and no color identity, even though they can search for 3 different lands. They are not a color identity because there is no colored mana symbol on them. And then other utility lands, Mystic Sanctuary, Riptide Lab, and Reliquary Tower. You should be able to draw enough cards to make Reliquary Tower a addition to this deck, especially if you do a couple of the other upgrades. So those are a few of the little things that I would add if you're wanting to upgrade this deck. And next section, we're going to go into the creatures. All these creatures, for the most part, should be a wizard, and if they're not, they should do something to help the wizard. So we're going to start off with Get to Lava Runner. It's a nice little 1 to cast 1/2, and it helps you with spell slinging. Burning Prophet. Get to Chronicler. And we're going to go into the what is going on with Strixhaven to make this deck better in a second. Get to Journey Mage. I'm going to let you actually, if you want to see what any of the cards actually do fully, besides going to the MTG Goldfish deck list that I have linked in the section below, you can pause the video and read the cards as I go. I'm going to hold them here for a second for you. Gutter Snipe, it's one of the few non-wizards. Here's the weird part about it, is it's a Goblin Shaman. It could have been a Goblin Wizard. Shaman, Wizard, same thing. Not really, but close enough. Dual Caster Mage, and with copying spells being huge in Strixhaven for the Guild or school, or I don't even know what they're calling them. It's going to be huge. So Dual Caster Mage may even bump up in price by the time you get this. Escape Artist, because it's unblockable. Information Dealer, because it deals with wizards. It itself is a wizard. Spellweaver Eternal. Nobbin, I don't know. Nobbin, Dean of Iteration. It's funny. I'm surprised this doesn't get reprinted in Strixhaven just because it's a Dean. So it says whenever a wizard enters the battlefield under your control, and it causes a triggered ability of a hermit you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. There are some big things that can happen with that. So just remember, he actually can cascade other things to happen, and you'll see some of those coming up. Champion of Wits, good for card draw. Warden of Evos Isle, in here for the fact that it's a 2/2 flyer and makes your other flyers cheaper. Some of the things in this deck fly, some don't. It's just a bonus that it's a wizard. Cloud Kinseer. Baron Talarian Archmage. Cephalid Pathmage. Again, more wizards. Aether Adept helps get you a little bit of tempo by returning somebody else's creature, or your own if you want another trigger. Norakan Visiomancer, also unblockable. Murmuring Mystic was a really shock to me that it was a wizard itself. It's also great because you're spell slinging, so whenever you cast it, a lot of things in here. Most of the spells in here that aren't creatures, if not all the spells that aren't creatures, are instants or sorceries. So this guy's going to put a lot of tokens into play. It's a shame though it doesn't create any wizards. Alright, and because of that Talrand, because you're casting instants and sorceries and more flying stuff, so. Shipwreck Dowser. You can return something from your graveyard to your hand, an instant or sorcery. Lightning Stormkin, the flying wizard for cheap, 2/2. Storm Chaser Mage, because it has Prowess, and with a lot of the spell slinging going on in this deck, Prowesses are going to be pretty good. Wee Dragonauts, same thing. Utmara Mystic, so it's also a merfolk on top of being a wizard. And again, it has that whole, whenever you cast a spell, it gets bigger and beefier. And Malek Izzet Paragon. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add this in here for the deck, but it works. I mean, you get to actually cast multiple spells. And On top of that, with all the stuff coming from Strixhaven, it allows you to copy things, so that's going to be big. So again, more options as far as that goes. And the more stuff that you're going to be able to copy at some point in time with the new stuff coming out, the better off this deck can get over time. So, some of the creatures that I would suggest as far as upgrades go. Naru Meha, with all that copying stuff going to happening and everything coming out, that's going to be a nice addition. Dawson of Perfection, another good thing. It can create more wizards for you because I believe it creates either illusions or wizards. I'll have it up here so you guys can see it. I think it creates wizards, and I think it also buffs wizards. And then a Zombie Lady of Scrolls because it can help you counter things with wizards. Niv Mizzet Perrin because you can actually use Niv Mizzet in a deck like this because of its colors and because it's an infinite combo. You can do that. Gadwick the Wizened, not a bad addition, helps draw cards. And then Soulscar Mage, it has Prowess. It makes things get -1/-1 counters. It's just an all-around good card. There's Sage of Fables and Spellseeker. Spellseeker will help you go get an instant or sorcerer that you'd like. And then you have Snapcaster Mage to give something flashback. I'm not a huge fan of Snapcaster Mage like a lot of other people are, but it does do some work, especially in a deck like this. So you can go ahead and use that as an option. Alright, next three sections are going to be all spells, utilities of some sort, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the three sections and I'm going to go over the upgrades to them all at once. So it's going to be a flash of cards, another flash of cards, and then I'm going to go over all the upgrades. So just bear with me on this one. First section, card drawing. You're in blue-red, so you should have plenty of options with card draw. So obviously, Faithless Looting, and I don't want to hear anything about the new art for Faithless Looting for the Strixhaven historic cards or whatever they're called. Don't care. It's a good card. Throw of Possibility, Tormenting Voice, Cathartic Reunion, Wild Guess, Pirate's Pillage. They all do the same thing. Discard a card to draw 2 cards. Or, in the case of Faithless Looting, draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. Reach Through Mists, draw a card. Obsessive Search. So, here's the good thing. Because of the looting cards, that's what we're calling them, looting, Madness works. So you may, with Madness it says for a blue, you may play this card for its Madness cost anytime you discard it from your hand, and the looting cards make you discard it, you can actually cast it, so that's always nice. Opt, because it's just one of the better draw cantrips in Magic. Mass Appeal, draw a card for each human you control. Most of your creatures are going to be humans, if not they are. Divination and Winged Words, because you will have a lot of flying creatures for sure. So, a lot of card draw just to get more cards in your hand so you can spell sling some more. Next, we got damage spells. This you can do whatever you want with. You don't have to do damage spells if you don't want to. I did because I wanted to have a little bit of everything, and then you can decide what direction you want to go. So I went with Chandra's Pyrohelix, Street Spasm for removal. It does to creatures without flying you don't control. It doesn't affect your creatures at all, so I figured it's a one-sided board wipe. Reality Hemorrhage. Brimstone Volley. Geist Blast, because, well, you can actually use its second ability. I thought that was kind of neat. That the only time you're going to be able to do it is in an Izzet deck or something of the sort. Wizard's Lightning, because, well, you're going to control wizards the whole time. Direct Current, and Fiery Temper, again with Madness, because you may have to discard it to the looting cards. So I tried to find as many Madness cards that I could that would fit into the theme of this deck, and so far I think I only found 2. And the other set of spells. We have, these are creature buffers. So we got Built to Smash, almost like a red giant growth. Brute Force is a red giant growth. Crash Through, because it draws a card. Dynacharge for the Overload. Weapon Surge again for the Overload. Fist of Flames because it lets you draw a card and then it buffs one of your creatures. And remember, as you're casting these, you're buffing if you have Adeliz out. A lot of things are going to get big. Trumpet Blast. Mizium Skin because of its Overload again and gives Hexproof. And Teleportal because it makes everything unblockable for one big giant attack. Alright? So those are the little buffs. And again, I only put a little bit of everything. You may be able to want to yourself change this into purely just burn. Who knows? It could be pure draw and burn, you know. It could be pure counter spells. I did not put a lot of counter spells in here because people hate on them, but there is an option there. Defensively, this is what we're going to go with as far as the opening of the deck. You know, just right out of the box, shenanigans, because you can get it back. It helps destroy an artifact. Cleansing Wildfire for those people who want to have a $7,000 deck and have Gaia's Cradles in them. Why not? Raid Bombardment to help you. This is utility section and defense at the same time. Whenever creature you control with power 2 or less attacks, Raid Bombardment deals 1 damage to the defending player, so you can get a lot more damage in. Shreds of Sanity. I guess this is to get, you know, this is to get more of your spells back from your grave to your hand. Same thing with Mystic Retrieval, and because it's blue and red, it fits the color identity, so you're good, you can use it. Call to Mind. So return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Relearn, same thing. See what I'm doing here? I wanted to fuel your hand back up by letting you go get whatever you've spent already. The only counter spell in the deck, we'll go over that in a minute. There are other options you can use. And because it fits in the wizard theme, I went with it. Bluster Squall. It's kind of one of those things where you can tap everybody's creatures in an attack and you can win. And then the last card that I added was Swarm Intelligence. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. As you can tell, that's what blue-red does. It copies spells and all that stuff, and it's not going to change. Once Strixhaven is released, it will get worse. So let me go over the options here. Now, with spells that I wanted to, like, that you can upgrade with, we're going to go with a couple different things. So first section, I'm going to go over a couple of the counter spells. You can actually use counter spell itself. Force of Will as the free counter spell and Mana Drain, because it was just recently reprinted, so it's not anywhere near as much as it used to be. And again, if you want to change out the direct damage that I have in here to a counter deck, you can just go to the MTG Familiar app that I use, or whatever you use to find cards that you like or want to use, and you can put in the parameters of, you know, counter a spell, and you can figure out what ones you like or what you have. Then you have other cantrips. Instead of using looters, you can use things like Ponder, Preordain, or Brainstorm. I don't have a whole lot of those, if any at all, to throw into decks that are budgetary, and they're not really that budget anyway. I mean, they are, but every dollar or two adds up when you're trying to put a 100 card deck together. And again, you can also, again, go to the MTG Familiar app and look for things that are cantrips that you like. You can change out the one counter spell and a couple of the buffers that I have in here for some damage spells. You can do Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Incinerate. And then a whole bunch of other ones. Trust me, red has more instant direct damage spells than I think blue has counter spells at this point. Defensive spells. You can use something like the Cyclonic Rift, Rapid Hybridization, or Reality Shift. Those are 3 good options that you can use. Red's defensive spells are like Vandal Blast, Chaos Warp, and Shatterstorm. Very underrated card, that Shatterstorm. The amount of people who have to play artifacts to ramp when they're not in green, Shatterstorm can cripple a deck. It destroys all artifacts. It's a good card. And I mean, there's a lot of other things that you can do. You know, it really depends on your meta and your play style on that end. As far as your spells, what you want to do, how you want to build the deck. It can be more wizard tribal. You can do more direct damage. You can do more counter spell. You can do counter burn, where you can do both of those. I mean, you can do a lot of creature buffers. It depends on how your playgroup plays or how you want to play. As far as utility, which is the non-spell stuff, so these are the permanents that are going to stay in play instead of casting spells. If you didn't notice, I didn't put a lot of, if any. I put one non-spell in here just because the way that this deck wants to play its tempo, it wants to keep going. So we're going to try Primal Amulet, the aforementioned Isochron Scepter, and Bidon of Thassa. So with the Isochron Scepter, it's more copying. With the Primal Amulet, it makes your spells cheaper, and then eventually it'll make you copy spells again. And then Bidon of Thassa lets us so that when you attack with all those little tokens or all the little wizards, you can draw cards. For more spell slinging permanents, you want to go with something like a Sentinel Tower, or a 1,000-Year Storm, or an Aetherflux Reservoir. Aetherflux Reservoir will end up being a killer card. I don't have any. I mean, I have a couple, but they're in decks already because it's that good of a card. If you want to do some more draw stuff from permanents instead of spells, you can try a Ristic Study, like everybody else plays, a Mystic Remora, or a Reconnaissance Mission. Reconnaissance Mission, not bad actually. I've been looking at the card more and more. It's actually not a bad card for an uncommon. It's actually really good. If you want to do some damage stuff, if you want to go more that route with your permanents, Impact Tremors is one of the best cards for red when it comes to damage when you're making tokens. You got Underworld Breach, so you can play more spells from your grave. Or you've got War Storm Surge. When creatures enter the battlefield, they deal damage equal to their power. If you want to go more Wizard Tribal, you can go with a Vanquisher's Banner, an Icon of Ancestry, and a Coat of Arms, so that everything just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you can just change out the spells that are in there to be more creature buffers. And it'll still work with Adeliz because she just keeps buffing whenever you play spells. There are a couple of walkers that you can use, planeswalkers. The Izzet ones specifically will be Ral, Storm Conduit, and remember, get these Rals before they jump in price. It seems like that may happen with all the stuff going on with Strixhaven. You may want to get your hands on these Rals anyway. So you've got the Storm Conduit and the Izzet Viceroy with copying spells and casting spells and everything. It's nice with Izzet, or with Adeliz. And then the Royal Scions you can get as well. I'm not as sold on the Royal Scions, but they're not bad. And then there are monocolor ones you can use that will lend to your play. I mean, it depends. Do you want to use something like Narset, where you make it so people can't play spells during somebody else's turn? Or, there are a bunch of different ways you can go. You can make it so people can't play spells except for sorceries. You can make it so people can't draw more than one card. No, you cannot. I'm sorry. Do not. That was bad. That is black-blue, not red-blue. There is, what's her name? The one that when you play a non-creature spell, you put a 1/1 token into play. You've got that one. There's a couple of different ways you can go. So as far as the win cons go for this deck, you can do the tribal, like I've been saying. You can do wizard tribal with spell slinging and all that stuff. Spell slinging with cantrips and Aetherflux Reservoir. You can add a Dramatic Reversal with Isochron Scepter as your infinite combo. It's not just infinite mana, because you don't have to have infinite mana. Just be aware of that. You don't have to do infinite. You can actually just add a Soul Ring, an Isochron Scepter, and Dramatic Scepter, and just keep casting spells, because Isochron Scepter says cast the spells. It says copy and then cast. It's a big difference between just copying, because it says here whenever you cast on Adeliz. So Isochron Scepter actually does cast it. And a couple of things do that, a couple of things don't. Or you can add the Niv Mizzet that I was talking about before in Curiosity, and that's an infinite combo as well. I want to make one other note after giving you the win cons and how you can go about that. You'll notice a lack of ramp in this deck. If you wanted to add some ramp, I didn't do that for a reason. I'll go over that in a second. You can add like a Soul Ring, an Arcane Signet, or a Thought Vessel, and when you add them, you can do the whole Isochron Scepter with Dramatic Reversal if you wanted to do that. The reason I didn't do that is because this deck is about tempo, and casting spells specifically just to add mana to your mana pool isn't, unless it's a spell like Manamorphose and things like that, it didn't make any sense to add here. Nothing in here costs a lot. I mean, I think the average converted mana cost minus like the Swarm Intelligence is 2 to 3. I think it's 3. So 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. Nothing's expensive. So having all that extra mana wasn't really going to do anything for you. You needed cantrip card draw so you could cast spells to keep going. So I didn't add a lot of ramp. It was for a reason. If you wanted to change that, or you had a reason to change that, I would go ahead and do that. But remember, this isn't going to be my deck. This is for sale. So speaking of that, that is my actual whole spiel on this deck, and it's actually a nice deck. It's more of my playstyle. This is for sale. All of my budget decks are for sale, and I would like to get this out to people's hands. I actually sold a couple of the non-commander decks the other day. I think it was like 7 of them, and the guy got them, and he was really appreciative of it because he's just getting back into it, and he wanted to play with his kids. And that's what these decks are for. These decks are to get you started, push you in the right direction, or just build your collection up and you want it to have a deck to play right away. You can be a starter, you can be an intermediate. I don't suggest these for the experts out there, but you know what? Some things in here may be good for you. Go to the Facebook page. I have my ad there. Contact me directly. Put it in the comments below. I don't care how you contact me. At bluebearsgames@gmail.com, you can contact me. I accept payment in a couple different ways, and I get things out to people as quickly as possible. I've made many people happy with this. Please, if you're interested in this deck or any of the budget decks, and that doesn't have to be just Commander, it could be non-Commander. I'll go over the non-Commander in a second, though. Just contact me. I would like to get these decks out because I want to take that money and put it into more products so I can make more decks so I can do it again. That's what this is for. This is not to make money because I already make money. I want to make extra money to throw into this so I can do it again so I can spread the joy. That's all this is about. So, again, Facebook page, comment section below, email bluebearsgames@gmail.com. Get a hold of me if you want one of these decks. I have the ads up in several places. I have it on Facebook Marketplace. Take a look. If you want one, we'll talk. $40, and if you buy more than one, it's $35 each. The non-Commander decks, however, I'm a little behind on making videos for them. I haven't made a video for them in over a year. I have like 35 decks. I want to start doing videos on them. If you guys take a look at any of the decks that I have up right now on video, I have a version of those. It's not the exact same thing, it's close. Take a look at them if you're interested in them. Those are $20 for one or $15 each. The more you buy, the more you save on this end. So, go ahead and take a look at that. Other than that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video out, comment below whatever you like, whatever you don't like. I want to hear it. Give me some feedback. Other than that, that is my video for the week. Hopefully you guys have a good one. I will see you next week. Have a good one.